like the breakfast anyway.
I love the
Making the
breakfast.
saltfish.
And I don't think, yeah, but I don't think they have a certain amount, I don't think they have a certain way of dressing. I mean, I did feel that, I mean, when I went to Kingston, I felt as though I was fitting in. You know, I made sure I wore my baggy trousers and I made sure I kind of looked like a rebel type of person. So I didn't feel as though I was really sticking out like a sore thumb. But I still found that my values predominated everything. The fact that, I mean, even here, it's not just a Jamaican thing. Because even here, if I'm kept waiting or if somebody's unpunctual, I get really agitated. So I think it just happened that it was in Jamaica at the time. It could have been anywhere else. So I think my values predominated everything else, and the service and the way they was behaving. And I'm not quite sure if somebody would behave in that way in a different country. I don't know. It just so happened I happened to be in Jamaica and witness it there.
I'm afraid I haven't read the book yet, but I will get on and read it now. But did you, when you were in Jamaica, did you try and find any relatives? Did you manage to speak to any?
Yeah, Miss Weeder was a relative,
Yeah.
even though I had to estrange her in the book. But my experience with her was just the same. I mean, she'd been there about 5 or 6 years. She'd lived in England all her life, so she'd gone to retire in Jamaica. And she, by the time I'd got there, she felt totally exploited. So she wasn't in a very generous mood. And, you know, I just got the worst end of it. So it was just like every step I took seemed to be the wrong step. You know what I mean? And it just so happened that I just had a series, and maybe I was just looking out for them, because once you have one bad incident, you're like, oh my God, what's the next thing going to be? So I don't think I was looking, maybe I wasn't looking for the positive in situations. The positive is that, you know, maybe now I'm reflecting back, but when I was there, I didn't see anything positive in the experience. So I think when you go to relatives in Jamaica, you also have the feeling that they're going to want all the clothes off of your back. They want all your money, and they want your shoes, and, you know, and so you know that when you go to meet, I mean, a lot of people, they try to avoid relatives because they know you have to take extra money, and they have this thing that you're well off in England. So when you go to Jamaica, they think, oh, well, you're well off, so therefore you can give me your T-shirts, you can give me your shoes, you can give me your money. And if you don't, they think you're really mean. They don't realise that you've been saving years or months for the fare. So it is quite difficult. That's why I decided to stay in a hotel, because I didn't want to feel obligated.
Myrna, do you think it's too easy to simplify the whole identity thing, because you always kind of look back to where you were, and you think maybe you had a kind of idealised view of what Jamaica was going to be like, and maybe it was like 25 years out of date or something?
I think you're absolutely right. I think I had idealised Jamaica, but I didn't really have much of a view of it, because what happened is my mother denigrated it so much. She kind of put it down, and she had a bad experience when she was there, so that was her information to me. I went over there defiant to prove her wrong, I think. And in trying to prove her wrong, I found that, you know, I didn't prove her wrong at all, because she was saying, oh, the people there, you know, they're, like she'll say, don't mix with Jamaicans, because the only place they'll know is to find you in the kitchen or the bedroom. Or, you know, she didn't have anything good to say about her whole experience. And I think what happened is when I went to Jamaica, I thought, well, okay, I'm going to prove her wrong. It can't be like that. But I just happened to be in touch with different type of people. I mean, I did go on the second trip. I did meet different, you know, I went to the Edmund Manley School of Art. And when you deal with professional Jamaicans, it's totally different. Because there you get the calibre, you get the treatment, you get the punctuality. But the first time I went there just as somebody just mingling in with the locals, so I didn't get that treatment. The second time I went there, I was mingling with a totally different type of people, so the treatment was different.
But maybe that, like, with this thing of identity and where you come from, I think everybody feels it, everybody wonders, particularly with all the movement around even around Britain, the amount of movement there is, the population, you do kind of look back to where you came from or where your family came from as some kind of idealised place, and maybe it was never there in the first place.
Right. I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, but I'm not quite sure what the answer is. I think it's important to get a sense of satisfaction about who you are. And I think I can safely say I feel British. And, you know, I'd like to know if I went back to Jamaica now or tomorrow or next week or next month, I'd have a totally different perspective. I wouldn't idealise it. And I would just say it is the culture and it is just the way they are. And why should I be, you know, punctual when I'm supposed to be on holiday? Why should I be, you know, I'm supposed to be chilling out, I'm supposed to be relaxing, I'm supposed to, you know. And why was I uptight? Maybe it had nothing to do with Jamaica in the first place. Maybe it's because of the fact that my sisters were supposed to come and they didn't. You know what I mean? It could have been a culmination of experiences that made me feel the way I did, and I just attributed it to Jamaica. Jamaica then became my target. So, but I think it's satisfying to feel at home with who you are. But I think it just takes a long time to get there.
One thing that is actually missing from the book is how you felt when you came back to Britain after being there. What you thought of Britain and Luton. And, you know.
I think that'll have to be another book.
Because I often go on holiday and I come back to Britain and it's cold and it's dirty. I sometimes wish, you know, that I lived abroad because of that. I don't know if you had any feelings like that when you came back, that you
I feel relief. For some reason, I just feel relief when I reach Britain. I mean, I was in America for 12 years, and for the whole 12 years I was in America, I never felt as though it was my home, even though I lived there. And, you know, I had a house there and everything, and but I always felt that I feel more comfortable. I don't know if it's because my parents are here. I just feel at ease and I feel comfortable here. And any time I go away, I just want to come back. So I think that when I get off the plane, yeah, you've got the cold weather, you've got the damp, and you've got all of this. But I think home is where you feel comfortable and where you feel accepted. And by and large, despite all these little categories and stuff, you know, I feel quite accepted. I feel at home here, and I feel comfortable. Whereas I didn't feel that in Jamaica. I didn't feel that in America, even though I was there for 12 years. I didn't give Jamaica a chance, actually, because I wasn't there long enough. Maybe I would feel at home there if I stayed there longer. I don't know.
But identity is more than that, isn't it? More than just where you feel comfortable, where your home is. Identity it goes deeper than that, doesn't it? It's sort of more fundamental than who you are.
But isn't it who you are where you come from? And it's a culmination of...
Wow. That's the interesting question, isn't it, really? I mean, if you've got... I mean, my grandmother is Irish, so and I did at one time think... I've been to Ireland a couple of times, and you get off the plane and you think, it's like coming home, and then you think, well, wait a minute, this is in my mind. What is this all about? And then you go, it's the Irish people. And sometimes you can feel a sort of a sense of community there. And so you're never sure whether there is something deeper in it, in this identity thing, or whether it's just in your mind. I don't know. So it's all right. So you've gone there, but your conditioning, you've been brought up all your life in England with English ways, and you've got the timekeeping, and so initially you go there and it annoys you, but are you nevertheless part of that? Is that really where your identity is? And how would you know? I mean, there's lots of people in a similar situation. How are they going to feel about? Do they feel, well, hang on, I live here and I was born here and I've got a right to be here and I can vote and all the rest of it, but do I actually belong? Is these really my people in a way, I suppose? Because community starts with family, doesn't it? And then it sort of spreads out from there to towns, villages, and I don't know.
I think that's a valid point, because
it's a much deeper issue. than just where you feel at home, or whether you like the people, you know, whether you like the people or not. It may be that you are Jamaican and that's it. And if you know, you may not like it because you've been conditioned for the last number of years by a different society. It's still that.
Well, you've got a point, because I often wonder if my family wasn't here, would Britain still feel as comfortable? And I consider, I'm not quite sure, but when I think of, if I was to think about my identity on a profound level, I wouldn't know what my identity is. I'd be totally confused, because your identity, I thought, was something that was consistent, is the core inside you. And if, you know, and then like especially me, who tends to be a bit of a chameleon. I change my images, I change the way I look, I change the way I do things. One minute I'm an artist, one minute I'm a point painter, one minute I'm a poet. And somebody said to me once, you can't be all three. And I said, why not? I said, because I am all three, and I give all three the same amount of value, the same amount of credence. And I also feel that each element of the arts expresses a different experience. There are certain things I can write in poetry that I can't do in paint. So then I think to myself, well, you know, when I go for an interview, for example, and I put on a little conservative black wig, and I have my little pearl earrings and my little tight blouse and my little, you know, and I do the business. What identity is that? It's made up. It's not real. It's superficial, because I don't feel comfortable in that environment. And you know, and I'm not quite sure when some people talk about the identity. Is it supposed to be mobile? Is it supposed to be transitional? I mean, I don't know.
It just seems to me that it's either your identity is something specific, and right, you're looking for it. I think we're all looking for something, and whether this is it or whether this is just a topic that we're looking for. But I don't think you can. It just seems that, okay, you've written a book, you went there, you saw, okay, yeah, some aspects of it I like, some aspects I don't like. I don't think you can walk away from it, come back and say, right, I've written a book, you know, I don't really feel Jamaican. I think there's more to it than that. That's why, you know, just leaving it at that and saying, right, end of story. I don't think that's it. I think there's more involved. There's more to think about somehow. I don't know how, but it just seems it's an unfinished story.
Is it end of story, or is it a movie?
Well, I think it's my mother's story, and I think that's what happens when, you know, your parents have such a strong influence, because you wonder which part of you is you, and which part of it is the influence of your parents, which part of the influence is society, and you're kind of lost somewhere in between. And I've yet to feel comfortable and say, okay, Myrna, this is me. I haven't reached that stage yet. I haven't woke up in the morning and looked at myself and said, Myrna, this is you. So there's obviously something floating around there. I'm not quite sure what it is, but there's something that's there that says, okay, you're not quite there yet.